Look at this. Look at this. I'm going to get us go live here on LinkedIn. Boom.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Magic Friday and our Manufacturing Ecommerce Success Series. I'm Damon Pistolka, one of your co-hosts, and I'm going to turn the show over to my partner in crime, Curt Anderson, so he can introduce our awesome guest of the day. Take it over, my friend.
Damon, happy Friday, my friend. What a great week. And man, I tell you, so combination of things. So it's nice having friends that are flexible. Our speaker this week was going to be Dr. Alyssa Rodriguez, the director of the MEP up in Alaska, and our thoughts and prayers with her. She had her and her partner had a baby this week on Monday. And so my dear friend Wesleyne is stepping in today. And so let's just do this. So every person that I introduce Wesleyne to is just completely blown away, folks. And you guys are, I guarantee you're going to feel the same. So Wesleyne, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. It's such an honor, and happy Friday to you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So we have Wesleyne Greer. So Wesleyne, let's just dig right in. I'm just going right at it. Okay. We're going rapid fire right at you.
I love it.
You're a little girl. You're growing up. What did you want to be when you grow up?
When I was a little girl growing up, there were two things that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a doctor and a mommy.
A doctor and a mommy. So what does a young lady choose to do when she goes off to college at Elkhorn State? Chemist. You become a chemistry major. And Damon, I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, my friends we were a bunch of dumb jocks. We just chemistry just wasn't even on our radar. And then the sad thing is, then we find out we weren't even really good at sports either. So that we just totally whiffed on that. So anyway, it's just such an honor to have Wesleyne so Wesleyne, let's talk a little bit. So you go off to college, and like, how do you inspire as a teenager, I'm going to become a chemist?
So, when I got to college, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but I quickly realized that, this is probably not the path for me. Then I switched from being a medical doctor to saying I want to get a Ph.D. in chemistry. And then I decided that wasn't for me either. So once I graduated, I got a job. I used my degree, and I tell people college teaches you how to think. So I got a job as a chemist working in a lab, and I really enjoyed it because I was working as an analytical chemist. So every day was different. We did a lot of failure analysis in that lab. So whatever things were broken, we had to figure out why. And that's really what got my wheels turning to say, hey, I want to be on the other side of that and understand the people who are selling these products, the people who are actually out there in the world trying to figure out these problems and giving those to the consumers.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so talk a little bit about that. That's so intriguing that you were part of the failing department. What were some situations that you came across in that experience?
One project that was really cool for me was we had coolers, right? I won't use the brand name, but they were coolers. And the problem that people were having was every time they dropped a 12-pack in, they were cracking. So what we had to do is we needed to figure out why they were cracking. And what we found was the person that recommended the specific resin or the specific plastic, they didn't recommend it for things that would have that high of an impact at that temperature. So what we needed to do was we had to figure out what specific plastic they needed in order to ensure that they weren't going to crack when you dropped the 12-pack and you had a whole bunch of ice inside the cooler. So things like that were really cool for me because it was like, it's not just pellets that we're making. This is an actual product.
Yeah.
Wow. That is awesome. Go ahead, Damon.
And how disappointing would it be if you ruin your best cooler dropping a 12-pack in?
That's right. Especially on Memorial Day weekend, it's going to ruin the whole weekend. So speaking of weekend, I want to give everybody a huge thank you for joining us. Our friends from Gen Alpha are in the house. We have Kevin and Chris. Thank you guys. My dear friend, Jeffrey Stern from Voice Express, our dear friend, Gail Candy up in Alaska. We have Jeffrey in Connecticut. We have Candy in Alaska. We're covering the whole country. Scott and Val, my dear friend Val, is with us today. So thank you guys for taking time out to join us. We have a wonderful program. Who's on LinkedIn, David?
We got Bonnie on LinkedIn and Edward Taylor on LinkedIn as well. So Bonnie's with us. And
hey,
Edward,
Bonnie.
thanks for joining us there as well.
Hey, sending our love to Bonnie, of course. So you make that transition from chemist into like sales guru. And guys, I dropped Wesleyne's LinkedIn profile in the chat box. I love your headline. I absolutely love you guys have to connect with Wesleyne. I couldn't memorize it, but build killer sales teams that hit monthly quota. You're a former chemist who coaches your sales managers to develop actionable sales process. I just absolutely love that. How did you make the transition from, being a scientist, chemist into like, you really need to be a people person? How did you make that transition?
So I was always that person that was asking those questions. Why are we doing this? Why do they need this information? Why does it have to be done so fast? So I was the why person, right? And as that why person, I always found myself, as soon as the salespeople came out of the field and they were back in the office, I was in their office like, okay, who did you see this week? Okay, tell me about, what products are you promoting to them? What kind of projects are they working on? And so I realized that one, I needed more people interaction, because in the lab you don't have that much interaction with people. So that was one thing I realized. And two, I really liked that convincing, right? Like I've always had that innate desire to convince people, to negotiate, to say, hey, this is a great idea, you should really get on my train. So that's when I made that transition into becoming a salesperson.
And you're so charismatic. You're such an introvert, right?
Such an introvert.
You're so charismatic. You're such a people person. And I think my biggest takeaway with what you just shared is that you have just an innate curiosity, and just really getting going deep into an understanding of what the person's going through, their problem that needs to be solved, and that consumer behavior transitions very well into being a sales coach, sales guru, as you are. So again, drop Wesleyne's LinkedIn profile in the chat box. So you have Transform Sales as your company. You're a founder. You are a coach. Talk to us a little bit about what is Transform Sales.
So at Transform Sales, we focus on the science of selling STEM. And STEM is science, technology, engineering, and manufacturing. And M is for manufacturing, not mathematics, because everything else in STEM, we use math. So why split it out? Manufacturing is where it's at, right? And that's what we focus on. And we really focus on developing upper management and leadership to help build strong teams. We do that through coaching, through training. There are a variety of methods that we use, but really everything that we do is based on me being a chemist, and it's a scientific approach. So everything is methodical, right? Because chemists, engineers, we see black, we see white. That gray is really hard for us to see. So I really step into it with my clients, and we figure out that black, that white, and sometimes I move them into the gray to really help everyone on their team hit their quota every single month.
Yeah, can you do me a favor? What does STEM stand for again? I didn't hear you clearly. For
Science,
all of our
technology, engineering, and manufacturing.
How about that one, Chris? All of our manufacturers, Val, Gene Corrales just joined us from the Small Business Development Center. So for all of our friends in manufacturing, how about kudos to Wesleyne for coming up with this one for manufacturing. So you're right after our own hearts here. So as you know, on our program, we dig deep into e-commerce. Okay. And you and I have really hit it off, built one, I'll use that word, great chemistry. Did you see what I did there?
I like it.
We have great chemistry, Wesleyne. We've been like just soul brother and sister since we've connected. We're working on a couple projects together. And so talking about bridging that e-commerce initiative for manufacturers, especially when it's new, and bridging that gap for, say, the traditional sales model. Go ahead. Just drop the bomb on everybody. Drop it, what you shared with me on that whole process.
So really, when I think about e-commerce and I think about how does that play into the manufacturing world, or really any world, in our technical realm, we're so focused on developing that relationship, going out there and calling on customers, getting a PO, invoicing. But using e-commerce, what that allows our sales team to do is using e-commerce should be used as a prospecting tool, right? It should really be used as you get somebody in the door. And once somebody makes a purchase, we know about buying behavior. Once they buy one thing, then they'll start buying more and more. And what that salesperson should be doing is that's a paying lead, a paying prospect, I should say. Right. And then the salesperson should be coming and bridging that gap and upselling and sending them back to the website to build their products and buy more and more.
I absolutely love this. And Damon, we talk about this a lot. We're, say, traditional manufacturers, and I know our folks in the crowd can completely relate to this. We're, maybe I'm an older dude. I'm not young anymore. I've been in sales for 30 years. This is how I've done it. This is how I've always done it. And now suddenly this new e-commerce thing comes along, and maybe I feel a little threatened. Maybe my viability or, my job practices are coming into question. And what the goal is like preaching to the manufacturers that, e-commerce is not a threat to you. It's the e-commerce can pull those customer service tasks off your plate. So stop being an order taker, let your website and e-commerce do that, and let you go out and be that rock star salesperson. And so let's go in. And so you have a bunch of great things that we have so much to cover. Again, check out Wesleyne, check out her website. You have amazing testimonials on your website. Wesleyne is a gem, game changer. So she has video testimonials, she has written testimonials, but you have a sales process map. Can you talk a little bit about your sales process map?
So I'm actually going to pop my screen open now.
Absolutely.
So I can share that with you, because really when I talk about the sales process, it's, as you can tell, I'm very, outside the box, right? So nothing I do is the same, right? Can you see my screen? Is it projecting?
No, not yet.
Nope. Okay, give me a second. Nope, it doesn't want to share. That's fine. I can talk.
Sure.
Okay.
So really, when I talk about my sales process, everything that I do is really built on 3 key pillars, right? So it's people, process, then profits. So everything that we do within our organizations, we start with our people, right? So it's people plus process equals profits. And when we build this culture within the company, and one way that I build the culture within a company is I tell everyone in the organization, you are a salesperson. Whether you're sweeping the floor, whether you're manufacturing a part, whether you're answering the phone or out there selling, you are a salesperson. And when you have that mindset of I am a salesperson, and as a salesperson, what do we focus on? It's customer first. So let's say I am in operations, right? And you're like, I have no external people. I don't talk to any customers at all. I'm just fulfilling the orders. Your customer is a salesperson, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to ensure that the culture that you're building within the organization is customer first. And everything that you do is focused on the customer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, think about that, and I know you had a nice exchange with Gail. I saw maybe it was yesterday or the day before, talking about when you have that great customer service experience and want to praise and compliment. And I love what you're saying, because the person in shipping, ensuring that order gets out on time, the person in purchasing, making sure that parts come in on time. So everybody is on sales. Now you have, I think we're getting feedback. So everybody, you have a proprietary 7-step sales leadership blueprint. Is that correct?
Yeah, you have to, there you go.
Okay. Yes, yep. It is. And really what we do in the 7-step blueprint is I start with people. Everything is about people. And in the sales leadership blueprint, the person that we start with is a sales leader, because at the end of the day, they have to get their mind. I always say you got to get out of the weeds, right? And so a lot of times they're on every single sales call, or they're trying to make sure every single order gets pushed through. And as a sales leader, you have to elevate yourself above that, right? So you have to ensure that you're empowering your team to actually do what they need to do. And once you empower your team, again, focus on the people, the next step is the process. What do I need to do as a sales leader to ensure that on day one, when I have a new person come in, how do they set themselves up for success? And that's the whole process piece. So you get the right people on the team, you give them a process that they can follow, and then the profits come later. You don't have to beat them over the head to say, when are you closing a deal? When is the next order coming in? What's happening here? What's happening there? Focus on the people and the process.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And you always talk about, give people the positive feedback, and you also put the responsibility and accountability on the sales managers, where if those processes are not in place properly, that where do we not? And it's not about pointing the blame, but the responsibility, and we're all competitive, not so much to beat up anybody on what you did wrong, but how do we get better? How together as a team, we want to be better than our competition. How can we challenge ourselves to improve that? So let's take it a little bit further about, like, how do you help those sales managers that maybe are struggling? They were sales rock stars and maybe not great people managers. And now all of a sudden they found themselves in a promoted position, and maybe they're floundering a little bit. We're like, man, I just want to go back to sales. But how do you help those sales rock stars convert into sales leaders?
So, it's one simple thing. And I tell them that it's just not about you. Nobody cares about you. You were great yesterday, maybe, when you're a salesperson. But awesome. What you like, what you did, how you performed, that doesn't matter, because all 5, 10, 15 people on this team are individuals. So in order for you to become a better sales manager, that's the first step. Remove yourself from the equation. It's just like when we think about sales, it's not about you. No one cares about you. Nobody cares about your products. What does the customer need? What's on the other side of the table? How are you going to help them achieve their goals? So that's how you have to think as a sales manager. What does each person on this team as an individual need to achieve their goals?
Right. And I love that. And you and I, we were talking a couple of weeks, probably a month ago, we we're talking about, like, going through, like, the persona exercise and really identifying that ideal buyer, the buyer persona. And what a great takeaway for me when we were going through that conversation was what Damon and I preach. We do some training. We're doing a couple of training programs right now, is trying to help the manufacturer not only understand their customer, which is critical, but what's been eye-opening that I've found with manufacturers is to understand your customer's customer. Yeah. And a great thing that I found with you, like with this situation, is not just understanding the sales leader, but the sales leader understanding his sales people. Mm-hmm. And then taking it that one step further. It's like just going right down that food chain, instead of stopping, just saying, oh, it's about the sales leader. No, it's about the sales leader and the sales team. Then the sales team, and about the customers and what problems they're going through.
Yeah. And one thing that it always is so lost on salespeople, that they don't think about what's the ultimate goal, like what's important for my customer. A few years ago, when I was still, I call myself a baby sales rep. So when I was new to sales, there was a company in Austin, Texas, that asked me to come out, and it was a manufacturing company. And so the problem that they were having was their lead time had doubled. Right. Oh, and right. So they were trying to figure out, like, oh my goodness, our lead time is doubled. So what did I do? I had to peel back the entire process that they went through. And what I found out was they were having so many rejects on the line that they were having to shut the line down and put that one reject on, and it was storing everything back. Yeah. And so once I sat down and I was like, okay, when we fix this one little problem, we're going to cut your lead time in half, and you'll probably even boost it up even more. They were like, okay, I'm sold. Like, where do I sign? And so many times a traditional salesperson would have gone in there and been like, oh, okay, you want this item? Okay, sure, great. Let me tell you how great it is. Let me tell you how awesome it is. And then what that does is the customer is going to go price shop you, because they're just looking at features and pricing. But you need to get people out of that mindset of, I'm just selling a widget. It's not just a widget. It doesn't matter how much it costs. It's the value you're actually giving to the customer.
I love that. And our friend on the call today, Jeffrey Stern, does an amazing job with Voice Express. He does the little voice recorders and every single Build-A-Bear on the planet. So if you've ever had a Build-A-Bear speak to your child, we can thank our dear friend Jeffrey Stern. But he does a lot with emotional marketing. And that emotional marketing, and again, in our world, we're going to talk about this next, Wesleyne, that dirty industrial world, Well, if I'm a CNC shop and you have a tool that's going to solve my problem, like that's an emotional connection, right? So let me just spin around real quick. Dirt, manufacturing, industrial, rolling up our sleeves, getting our fingernails dirty. And Damon, look, like Wesleyne is just so put together. She just looks so wonderful. I feel so inept, talking to her. I've no hair. I got my ratty t-shirt and look at Wesleyne. But Wesleyne, why manufacturing? How did you get into, like, as you call it, the dirty industry? What attracted you to this world, not pharmaceuticals, being a chemist, or maybe finances, or, tech? Why manufacturing?
So one thing that I know from me being a chemist in the lab, even as a salesperson, I like getting my hands dirty. And so I would win my suitcase, I would have my steel toe boots, I would have my hard hat, my safety glasses, because I need to get on the plant floor, because again, I need to understand what the customer's experiencing. So I can't do that in a conference room. Like, that's not fun to me. Like, that's selling software. That's not what I want to do. Right. And so in where I am in Houston, I was in the chemical plants. I was in petrochemical labs, right? Like, I wanted to get my hands dirty. I wanted to see physically, what's the product you're producing? What are the issues that you're having? Because either I'm selling chemicals or I'm selling an instrument, I'm selling something to help solve the problems. And because I wanted that sales, being in front of the customers, but I still need to get my hands dirty. That's why I'm so attracted to, as I say, the dirty industries, because I like getting my hands dirty.
Right. So, okay. So let's go back and throw on our e-commerce hats. And again, we have our friends from Gen Alpha. We have Gene Krauss. We're working, a lot of folks are working with manufacturers trying to help in e-commerce. So let's take a manufacturer that's made that transition. Okay. They're old school, traditional. They've been making widgets for, decades, if not longer. And so now all of a sudden they're going to go into e-commerce, and let's go into the customer service department. So now customer service, maybe they had 10 or 20 customers, and they're used to like that, maybe a few emails a day or a few phone calls a day. Now all of a sudden they go into e-commerce, man, the phone's starting to ring, emails are coming in. It's changed the complexion for customer service. Let's go deep into, like, how do you consult, or how do you help that manufacturer make that e-commerce transition into e-commerce? How do you strengthen that customer service department?
So really the first thing that I mentioned earlier was everybody is a salesperson, right? And so traditionally in a manufacturing company, they may not have had, like you said, a true customer service department. They may have an order fulfillment person, or the number of orders they have were probably a lot smaller. So really the first thing is, this is actually not a customer service department that we're talking about. This is a sales department. And this sales department, because again, if your salespeople are not burning up, not racking up frequent flyer miles or putting a bunch of miles on their car, what are they doing? Every order that comes in, those people, they need to be on the phone. Hey, Curt, I just noticed you placed an order. What did you buy this for? Oh, okay. Really? I didn't realize that was a new thing. So can I come out? Can I meet you? And they're developing the relationship, right? So that's really, the customer service needs to be not an afterthought. Don't have somebody calling in mad because the delivery time is delayed or the order was wrong. It needs to be a forward thinking thing. It should be more of an inside sales team or an outside sales team. The people who you had combing LinkedIn or going to all these trade shows. Again, this is paid lead generation, right? Like, this is paid. People are coming to you. They're buying something from you. So it's all about, I say, the upsell and the resell. Right? Once somebody comes in one time, your goal, the KPI that you should be hitting for the e-commerce team is, how much more can we get? How much more can we get from this person? How often are they going to order? Those are the things that need to be going through your mind.
Absolutely. And the KPI, those key performance indicators, I absolutely love what you just said. And so one thing, what we preach a lot about in our webinars, workshops, we call it, how do you make that great first impression? Our little cutesy word is webpression. How do you make that great first webpression? And the thing is, customer service is that great first impression. So if somebody comes on your website and places an order, we're in that dirty industrial world, and you're selling, who knows, wires, circuit boards, whatever that part might be, and there's going to be questions. And so that the customer service in the past, maybe they're like, oh, I'll get to it after lunch, or I'll respond to that tomorrow. Or, it was just a different mindset, like we really, all of a sudden as manufacturers, we need to almost have like tourism, restaurants, like those front of line retail, customer service, knockout experiences. It's a different thought process, right? For manufacturers.
Absolutely. And it's a forward thinking. It's okay, we got a new order. And again, we're going back to that process thing. We have the right people on the team. So what is that process? Within X number of minutes or hours of getting a new order, somebody physically picks up the telephone and calls.
Wait, what's a telephone?
It says, thank you for your order. Thank you for becoming a part of our family. Thank you for entrusting us with whatever. Like, it needs to be warm. It's not like, thank you for placing an order, goodbye. It's really like welcoming them into the fold because they've entrusted you with something. As a manufacturing company, you're making something, a widget that's helping them essentially do something in their business. It's helping them move something forward. So your job is to understand what they're moving forward, because they just placed that first order online with you, or maybe they're a repeat customer that just orders the same thing all the time, but they're ordering other things from other people. Right. So your job is to get all the business. You want to get more of the business. And so that's why customer service is not just a passive thing to take complaints. Customer service is really a forward-thinking sales activity.
Right. Yeah. And I had an epiphany this week talking with a client, and we're again going back to that persona exercise. I think that is just so critical. I've just gone so deep into that process. And I had an epiphany talking to someone where the person who is that ideal client, and we're okay. Well, it's the CFO, it's HR, it's operations, it's purchasing, da da da. And the conversation was so focused on the position, not the person. And I think we lose sight that there's a human being behind that, and like we don't know what they've gone through. Is their job on the line? Were there layoffs that morning? Did they suffer, an unfortunate personal situation? There's a lot of things going on. And unfortunately, I think in manufacturing, we're so in tune or robotic with the widget supply chain that we just lose sight that there's somebody behind those decisions, Right. And so go ahead.
So, and that's the thing, because we're so focused on our product, right? And so many times we're so focused on our product. This is what our product does. This is how our product helps. And we're not really thinking about what are the overarching business problems, I like to say, that the actual customer is facing. Like I told you about the manufacturer. They just said, hey, we want you to come out to see if there is a problem. So the problem they were actually having was they were getting like micro scratches that on the outside of the product. And so it wasn't up to their QC, right? Their quality control. So I had to go back in the line. So I could have sat there and focused on, okay, we can fix this. We can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do that. But what their focus was their lead time. So everything I talked about was how we're going to get this lead time down. It doesn't matter what we're going to do to get this lead time down. It's going to cost me $10, $10 million, but I'm going to get your lead time down, right? That's what matters. And that's what we have to do.
Yeah. Right. Yep. No, I absolutely love that. And so, another situation scenario that I want to talk about is, again, traditional manufacturer purchase orders for the past 30, 40 years, or however long we've been in existence. And so again, that person was, customer service was basically order processor. Purchase order comes in, goes into the queue, like you said, 4, 6, 8 week lead time, so on and so forth. Now all of a sudden, hey, bam, e-commerce order. What's this? Another e-commerce order, trying to make that transition of, handling those orders. And so going into that e-commerce process of and again, if that spigot turns on pretty quickly, they might be taking on a lot of orders, How can management better equip customer service? What conversations, what communication should be taking place to help bridge or smooth that transition?
So really, at the point where you're deciding that you're going to turn on that e-commerce spigot, and you're getting excited about all the new orders, you need to be thinking about what's happening on the back end also, right? So as soon as the order comes in, what type of order fulfillment process do we have, right? As automated as you can make things, everything on the front end has been automated. So we need to try to automate as much on the back end also, right? So that person who was collecting that PO before and then entering it into their SAP or their ERP, that doesn't work anymore. It needs to be some kind of automation. And again, that one person who was only dealing with 10 to 20 orders per day, they will have 100 to 200 orders per day, but it should still be the same one person because it's automated. And all they're doing is checking over it to make sure, because again, the order comes in. Okay, so now we need to make sure we have the inventory. So what kind of tool, what kind of automation do we need to do? Check that inventory. Okay, then we do this. Then we're going to make sure we're going to send it to the salesperson's queue so the salesperson can give them a call and say thank you, right? So all of those things are processes that, again, we're manufacturers. We can figure this out. This isn't something that's outside of our realm. We know how to do this. If we can make cars and boats and phones, we can figure this out.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So I think, so if Chris and Kevin, if you guys are still with us, I think, any of your clients, we need to bring Wesleyne in to kind of help smooth that e-commerce. When that e-commerce spigot turns on, we need Wesleyne to kind of smooth that bridge. Another thing I want to talk about, Wesleyne, is FAQs, that customer service side. Now, as you make that e-commerce transition, it's not just, purchase orders, you're going to make something for me. If that custom manufacturer, that manufacturer gets into their own proprietary product line or they start shipping, I had an e-commerce business 100 years ago, and our running joke was every single question that came in, whether phone, email, that needed to be an FAQ on our website. It was, we were facetious about this, but our running joke was, how can we get to the point that our phone never rang or an email never came in? Because we want to provide so much information on a website that our goal was, it was like our little internal mission. How do we help our ideal buyer make a buying decision on a Friday night at midnight without having to wait for us to open up our doors on Monday? So how does that customer service person, how can we equip them on the front lines to be retrieving that information, get that on the website, video, social, talk a little bit about that.
So it's really about, and I really like what you said, because it's true. If people are asking these questions, there are probably 10 or 20 other people who is in their brain, but they're not physically asking the question, right? So pop it up on there. But really, again, our customer service team, our inside sales, our sales team, we want to empower them, right? So we want to know that if somebody buys this particular product, these are the 10 questions that people typically ask. So again, instead of just here's your order confirmation, here's your order confirmation with all the questions that are probably on your brain. And how about we set up a call? Here's a link to set up a call so I can talk you through. Again, let's be forward thinking. We're not being passive. You don't want things to come to you because that means you've missed something. It's better to give a bit more information, not a vomitacious amount, but a bit more information so that people feel secure with your product. And Gail and I were going back and forth, it's like that person that goes over and above outside of their job, you feel some kind of loyalty to them. You're like, wow, this person just said, hey, here are the questions that may be on your mind. And 4 of these 5 questions I wanted to know. And they said, call me whenever you need to. What is that?
Absolutely. And when you think of those traditional, I know back 100 years ago, the train station, the guys in the train had a notorious bad reputation for, just being gruff and bad customer service. Then all of a sudden cars hit the scene and those guys were losing jobs because of such bad customer service. So, and again, in manufacturing, or maybe you go to a car repair shop, and not to stereotype or throw those guys under the bus, but you think of some of those customer service experiences where you have not the best or most friendly experience. So what we want to be preaching to our manufacturers is how to really improve that. So Wesleyne, another question, you talk about empowering. You've mentioned it multiple times in conversations that we've had. You use one of my favorite words, trust. How do you build that environment of trust and empowering folks to help make those decisions? And, being on the front lines and customer service is just really, hey, I need to go over and above. How do you empower those people to make those types of decisions?
So really the key is it all starts at the leadership level, and to have a company that is built on this customer service culture, you have to get all of your leaders together, finance, operations, HR, sales, all of them together, because again, customer service needs to be in the fabric of the company. One example that I like to use that we have down south, I don't know if you guys have up north, is Chick-fil-A. And
Sure.
what that is like the epitome of customer service that people use, because
Great.
every employee, they smile, they say my pleasure, right? Unsolicited. And so again, if I am the salesperson, I'm going to finance and I say, hey, I need to can you change these terms for this person? Can we do this? Can we do that?
Right.
You want finance to say, yeah, sure, let me figure out how to help you. Not, no, we don't do that. Like, just go away, right? Right? I know you guys are both shaking your head because, that's what finance wants to do. They want to time out everything because, again, it's a customer service fabric. So if you have that pressure internally, when somebody calls you and they ask you a question, what are you going to do? You're going to do what has been done to you. And so when you start internally and start building that culture internally, then when I pick up the phone and somebody calls me, whether they're happy or sad, I'm going to say, my job is to help you figure this out, right? Because that's what has been done to me.
Right. How can we?
We may have lost her.
Did we lose her? Oh, there she is.
Back. She's back.
Hey, you're back. Just took a quick commercial break. That's all right.
Yeah.
So Wesleyne, man, Damon, did I tell you this is going to be just lights out or what, man? This is just phenomenal. So Wesleyne, we're coming into our time and we've got Gail. So here's my question to you. So we've talked a lot about diversity. When you come into a manufacturer, when you come into your clients, how do you help create a more diverse environment for your clients?
So everything, again, this is my chemist brain. I'm such a chemist, right? And so everything I do is really based on data. And so as I'm helping companies build organizations, I look for people who have the skills for the job, right? And so when we're hiring people and we're looking for skills, literally during a hiring process, I make people take assessments and we decide what do we need for this position? What do we need for that position? And we look at the assessments before we look at a resume, before we do a phone screen or anything. And then we take that pool of people and we interview that pool of people. And so one thing that we're moving our bias, right? And then once we're in a company, what is really important is it's important to ensure that we have a culture that is equitable, right? We talk about diversity, we talk about inclusion, but equity is when we have different thoughts, different opinions around the table, and we ensure that everyone's voice is heard, that everyone has the same opportunities for growth and upward mobility. And that's really how we build a culture that is one that is diverse and one that is equitable.
Yeah, that's great.
Man, that was just that. Build a culture. So, man, this is so good. So, all right. So what we're going to do, we're coming in time. We could talk all day. I want to get back to the table so everybody has a chance to get a little alone time here with Wesleyne. A couple quick closing thoughts, closing questions that I want to share with you. One of the last questions we love to ask on our program is our dear friend Allison DeFord. And you know what? Before I get into our last question, I want to give a shout out. Dan Bigger's not with us today. Damon, I had to both of you. I had dinner with Dan Bigger last night, and so he's traveling with his family. His daughters are in a volleyball tournament in Pittsburgh, and so he and I had dinner last night. And so he made this connection for me to Wesleyne. And I have to say, Wesleyne, you just are such a gift. You're a blessing. I know you're actually helping us with e-commerce management with some strategies. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And this is the power of LinkedIn is like right here, and everybody on the call, Chris, Kevin, Gail, everybody, Damon, what a great opportunity, this community that we've built together on LinkedIn, my dear friend Candy up in Alaska. So anyway, Wesleyne, I want to tell everybody what a dear friend and blessing that you are. We like to close out with our dear friend Allison DeFord. She preaches, how do we make our customers the hero of our story? And I know you've just covered a ton of it in the past 30 minutes. How do you make your customers the hero of your story?
Really, for me, making the customers the hero of my story is when I'm able to really see that full transformation. Actually, this month, and we're at the end of the month, I've had 3 of my past customers that I worked with within the past year come back to me and really tell me how I've impacted their lives. Because yes, I talk about sales, I talk about driving revenue, but we always set personal goals. There was a company that I worked with, an engineering company, that literally this time last year, they were about to file bankruptcy. And his fiscal year ends on June 30th, and he's $40,000 away from hitting his goal. So that's how I really make my clients the hero of my story. When they're able to achieve their personal and professional goals, when I get an email that says 8 out of 10 of my salespeople are going to hit their quota this year, I'm putting more towards my kids' college fund. That's what for me matters the most. Those personal goals, the people that you're impacting as a leader.
Yeah.
Man,
Nice.
you are so good. That guys, aren't you? You're just, you have to connect with Wesleyne. Chris is giving you a, you know what? Everybody stand up. Standing ovation, man. This was just a bombshell. So, Damon, any parting questions, thoughts that you have for Wesleyne before we kind of wish everybody a great weekend?
No, thanks so much. I mean, it's incredible getting to listen to you, Wesleyne, and learning more about how you help people and just listen to you, how you help people. So thanks so much for being here with us today, and thanks for sharing. It's wonderful. I also want to say thanks to Edward and Bonnie on LinkedIn. Listen to us there. We will be going. I'm shutting down on LinkedIn, but have a great weekend if you're in the U.S. and going to celebrate Memorial Day, and be safe. I mean, this is the first weekend that many of us has been out in a while, so let's be careful now.
That's right. And Damon, and we have some exciting programs coming up. So we have a live webinar with the Alaska MEP this Thursday. So shoot me. I didn't drop a link. I'm bad, but drop me a note on LinkedIn. I'll get you that information. Join us on Thursday for our webinar. Come over to the tables and join us with Wesleyne. Wesleyne, thank you. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for taking time to join us today to share your expertise, your passion. And guys, happy Memorial Day to everybody. Have a safe, blessed weekend. We love you guys.
Yep. Thanks a lot, everyone.